My name is Mara Whitlock. I'm 34 years old, and I live in Seattle. The night my brother threw my invitation card in my face, I finally understood something I should have accepted years ago. Some people can sit at the same table with you and still never see you. I had brought the envelope home carefully, not because I expected applause, but because a small part of me still hoped my family might care this time. It was an official invitation to the National Humanitarian Technology Award ceremony, the biggest night of my career, the kind of moment you imagine sharing with the people who are supposed to love you first. I placed it on the dinner table, right beside the serving bowl, and said I would be honored if they came. My brother picked it up before anyone else could speak. He read the front, smirked, and for 1 second I thought he might ask what the award was for. Instead, he flicked the card across the table so hard it hit my cheek and dropped into my lap. "You think we care about your stupid award?" he said, laughing like he had just delivered the best joke of the night. My mother did not defend me. She only sighed and reminded everyone that they already had tickets to the Seattle Kraken game. My father barely looked up from his plate before adding, "Don't expect us to rearrange our night for this." I looked down at the bent corner of the invitation, at my name printed in gold, at the line they had not bothered to read about the ceremony being broadcast nationwide. My hands were steady when I picked it up. My voice was even when I said one word: understood. No argument, no begging, no explanation about the patients, the hospitals, or the emergency system that had put my name on that card. I just stood, slid the invitation back into my purse, and left them to enjoy the night they had chosen. A few hours later, while they were cheering inside a packed arena, my face appeared on the giant screen above them, and suddenly everyone around my family knew exactly what they had thrown away. Before I tell you what happened when they realized the woman on that screen was me, tell me, what time is it where you are right now, and where are you watching from? I want to know how far this story travels before my family's mistake catches up with them. To understand why that one word, understood, felt heavier than any argument I could have made, you need to understand what it meant to grow up as Mara Whitlock in my family. My brother's name was Austin Whitlock, and from the time he learned how to smile at strangers, my parents treated him like the sun had personally asked permission to rise around him. He was loud, charming, athletic, and completely convinced that any room improved the second he entered it. My mother, Carol Whitlock, called him her natural leader. My father, Grant Whitlock, called him the one who knew how the real world worked. My older sister, Paige Whitlock, was the family's image expert, the one who could turn a birthday dinner into a photo shoot and a normal holiday into a social media campaign about love, gratitude, and matching sweaters. And then there was me. I was the quiet one, the useful one, the daughter who knew where the insurance cards were, who remembered when the car registration expired, who fixed the Wi-Fi, who called the plumber, who drove people to appointments, who cleaned up before guests arrived and stayed behind after they left. In our house, Austin got celebrated for potential, Paige got praised for presentation, and I got thanked only when something broke and I made it work again. I learned early that my accomplishments made people uncomfortable unless they were convenient. When I won a science fair in middle school, my mother said it was nice, then asked if I could help Austin finish a poster he had forgotten about. When I earned a scholarship to study computer engineering, my father said college was expensive and hoped I had chosen something practical. When I graduated near the top of my class, Paige posted a group photo where I was half cropped out because, as she put it, the lighting was better that way. I used to think if I worked hard enough, became impressive enough, and made myself impossible to ignore, they would finally turn toward me and stay there. Instead, they got used to me being steady. They enjoyed the benefits of my discipline without ever becoming curious about the person carrying it. After college, I moved into public health technology, not because it sounded glamorous, but because it felt like the first place where my quiet obsession with systems could matter. I joined a medical logistics startup in Seattle that was working with hospitals, emergency responders, and rural clinics across the Pacific Northwest. Our mission sounded simple until you saw what it meant in real life. We built software that coordinated emergency drone deliveries of blood, insulin, anti-seizure medication, and small critical supplies when roads were blocked by snow, flooding, wildfire smoke, or traffic disasters. My part of the project was the routing brain, the system that decided which drone should fly, which hospital inventory could be spared, which weather pockets were safe, and how to reroute in real time when a landing zone became impossible. Most people imagined drones as toys or delivery gimmicks. I saw them as lifelines with wings. There were nights when I sat at my desk long after midnight watching storm data crawl across 3 screens, knowing that a delay of 12 minutes could mean a child in a mountain clinic did not receive the medication they needed in time. I did not wear a uniform. I did not stand in front of cameras. I wrote code, tested failures, studied maps, argued with impossible data, and stayed awake until the system did what it promised to do. The first person who saw me clearly was Dr. Naomi Kwan, our project director. She never called me shy like it was a flaw. She called me precise. She never told me to be louder. She told me that the world had enough people selling easy answers and not enough people willing to sit with hard problems until they became safer. Under her leadership, our system grew from a small hospital pilot into a regional emergency network. We helped deliver rare blood to a surgical team during a mountain road closure. We helped get insulin to a clinic on an island after ferry service shut down. We helped move medication through wildfire smoke when ground vehicles were stuck miles away. Every success was measured in quiet outcomes. A patient stabilized. A doctor stopped panicking. A family got one more morning with someone they loved. When the National Humanitarian Technology Foundation contacted our office, I assumed they wanted Dr. Kwan. Then she called me into a conference room, closed the door, and told me the nomination was centered on my routing architecture. I laughed because I thought she was easing me into a joke. She slid a folder across the table and said, "Mara, this is what impact looks like when someone finally puts numbers around it." Hospitals had submitted statements. Emergency managers had sent data. A rural physician had written that our system turned distance from a death sentence into a challenge they could survive. I read every page with my throat tightening, not because I needed glory, but because for once the work I had done in silence had come back with names, faces, and proof. When the official invitation arrived, I stared at it for almost an hour. 4 guest seats were reserved under my name. I could have invited only my colleagues, people who already understood why it mattered. But a small, stubborn part of me still wanted my family to witness one night where my life could not be reduced to a side note. I told myself they might surprise me. I told myself even they would understand an award connected to saving lives. Then I brought the invitation to dinner, placed it in front of them, and watched Austin throw it back at me like my proudest moment was trash. The night of the ceremony, I stood in a quiet hotel room near the Seattle Convention Center, staring at my reflection like I was waiting for her to explain how we had gotten there. I wore a dark blue dress because Dr. Kwan said it looked calm and powerful, 2 things I did not feel at the same time very often. My hair was pinned back, my makeup was simple, and the glass doors below reflected a city that had no idea my entire family had chosen hockey over the biggest night of my life. I kept my phone on silent in my purse. I did not want to check whether anyone had changed their mind. I already knew the answer. At the convention center, everything moved with polished precision. Staff members guided honorees through security. Photographers asked us to pause in front of a banner, and producers with headsets whispered into microphones while checking the timing of the live broadcast. The ceremony was part of a national program honoring humanitarian technology, and because one of the award categories involved emergency medicine in Washington, several local venues were carrying short live segments during public events. I knew that in theory. I did not know exactly where my segment would appear. I did not know the Seattle Kraken game at Climate Pledge Arena had agreed to run the community spotlight during the first intermission. I only knew my family had tickets there, and I had trained myself not to think about it. Inside the ballroom, my team filled the row behind me. Dr. Kwan sat to my right, steady and composed, with the same expression she wore before difficult launches. When I looked at the reserved seats marked for family guests, I saw 4 empty chairs and 4 small name cards that suddenly felt louder than the orchestra warming up. I told myself not to look again. The program began with speeches about innovation, service, and the people who build systems no one notices until those systems fail. I listened with my hands folded in my lap. Every time the audience applauded someone else, I felt my chest tighten a little more. Not from fear exactly, but from the strange grief of knowing that strangers were about to stand for me while the people who raised me had not even cared enough to ask what the award was for. Across town, my family was packed into arena seats under flashing lights. I learned the details later from videos, messages, and the accidental cruelty of people who love to report embarrassment in high definition. Austin was laughing with a tray of nachos in his lap. Paige was filming a story with the ice behind her. My mother was wearing a Kraken scarf and smiling at the camera like the night was going exactly the way she wanted. My father was checking game stats, completely relaxed. Then the intermission lights dimmed. The arena host announced a special community spotlight, and the giant screen above center ice changed from hockey highlights to the live feed from the awards ceremony. At first, no one in my family reacted. They had no reason to. It was just another public service segment, the kind of thing people half watch while standing in line for drinks. Then my photo appeared. My full name appeared beneath it. Mara Whitlock, Senior Systems Architect, Northwest Emergency Medical Drone Network. The caption below that read, "Honored for technology credited with improving emergency medical delivery across the Pacific Northwest." In the arena video, you can see Austin stop chewing. You can see Paige lower her phone. You can see my mother lean forward like the screen had suddenly moved too close to her face. Back in the ballroom, the host was reading my introduction. He described closed mountain roads, remote clinics, weather emergencies, and a system that had helped deliver critical supplies when minutes mattered. He said the work represented a new model for public health logistics. He said my name again, and Dr. Kwan squeezed my hand before I stood. The walk to the stage felt both endless and too fast. The lights were hot. The applause was real. I accepted the award from a woman whose title sounded too important for someone like me to be shaking her hand. Then I stepped to the microphone because they had asked each honoree to say a few words. I had written something careful, but when I looked out at the ballroom, I thought of every quiet person who had ever been treated like support staff in their own life. I said the award belonged to the dispatchers, nurses, engineers, drone operators, and rural doctors who knew that quiet work can be the difference between panic and survival. Then I said, sometimes the most important systems are the ones people do not notice until the moment they need them. The ballroom applauded again. At the arena, people sitting near my family began turning their heads. Someone behind them asked, "Whitlock, is that your daughter?" Another person said, "Wait, you are related to her? Why are you here and not there?" My mother opened her mouth, but nothing graceful came out. My father stared straight ahead. Paige started typing fast. Austin, the same brother who had thrown the card into my face, sat frozen with cheese sauce on his thumb while my face filled the screen above him. For once, he was not the center of the room. For once, the entire room was looking past him and straight at me. After the ceremony ended, I stayed for photographs, handshakes, and the kind of polite conversations where everyone says congratulations in a voice that sounds like they have said it 100 times that evening. My team was glowing. Dr. Kwan looked proud in the quiet way that meant more to me than any shout across a room. I was still holding the award when I finally took my phone out of my purse. The screen lit up like an emergency dashboard. 27 missed calls, 43 text messages, multiple voicemails, tags from people I barely knew. The family group chat, which had been almost silent since they dismissed my invitation, was now moving so fast the messages seemed to stack on top of one another. The first one was from Austin. Mara, call me. Then another. Seriously, call me. Then, you know I was joking, right? You cannot be mad over dinner. My mother had sent a paragraph that began with, "We are so proud of you, sweetheart." As if pride were a blanket she could throw over the entire evening and hide what had happened underneath. My father wrote, "That was impressive. We should discuss how to handle media attention as a family." Paige sent 3 heart emojis, 2 crying emojis, and a childhood photo of us on a beach, followed by, "I want to post something beautiful about this." The difference between their words before the broadcast and their words after it was so sharp I almost laughed. No one asked if I was okay. No one asked how the ceremony felt. No one asked what the award meant to the hospitals, or the patients, or the people who had worked beside me for years. They asked who had interviewed me. They asked whether there would be a feature story. My mother asked if the local news might want to film something at the house, because she still had my old science fair trophy in a box somewhere. My father wanted to know whether the foundation worked with private contractors, because he had business cards, and did not want to miss an opportunity. Paige said a family post would perform really well if we moved quickly while people were still talking. And Austin, after 5 minutes of pretending it had all been a joke, sent the message that showed me who he really was. "Do not make me look bad over one little card thing." One little card thing. That was what he called it. Not the invitation he threw in my face. Not the night he mocked the work that had taken me 12 years to build. Not the moment my family chose a hockey game and then tried to crawl into the spotlight once strangers started clapping. One little card thing. I locked my phone and placed it face down on the table before my hands could start shaking. Dr. Kwan noticed. She did not ask for details. She just said, "You do not owe anyone immediate access to you tonight." That sentence settled something inside me. For years, I had believed access to me was automatic. Family called, I answered. Family needed, I helped. Family hurt me, I explained it gently enough that they would not feel accused. That night, standing in a ballroom full of people who respected work my own family had laughed at, I realized automatic access was not love. Sometimes it was just habit wearing a nicer name. By the time I got back to my apartment, the situation had grown teeth. Someone had found Austin's story from earlier that evening. He had posted it before the game, probably thinking it made him look funny. In the clip, my invitation was visible in his hand. You could hear him saying, "My sister really thinks we are skipping Kraken tickets for some nerd award." Then the camera shook as he tossed the card at me. My face was only visible for a second, but it was enough. He had captioned it, "Big Award Energy." The internet did what the internet does. Someone placed that clip beside the arena footage of him watching me on the giant screen. Then someone added the broadcast segment from the award ceremony. By midnight, strangers were sharing the 3 moments in order: the mockery, the recognition, the silence on Austin's face. My mother called again. My father called again. Paige sent, "We need to get ahead of this." Austin finally stopped joking and wrote, "Mara, please just comment that we are good." I read that message several times. We are good. Those 3 words would have saved him more than they would have healed me. For the first time in my life, I did not feel responsible for cleaning up a mess my family had made by stepping over me. I opened a folder on my phone, saved every screenshot, saved the story before he could delete it, and placed my award on the shelf by my window. Then I made tea, sat in the quiet, and let their panic ring without answering. The next morning, I woke to a city that had moved on to rain, traffic, and work. But my family was still trapped inside the mistake they had made in public. My phone had messages from cousins, neighbors, old classmates, hospital staff, reporters, and people I had not heard from since college. Most of them were kind. A few were nosy. The ones from my family felt like a strategy meeting happening without my consent. My mother wanted me to say we had all laughed about the invitation incident because siblings tease each other. My father wanted a family statement that focused on unity and private misunderstandings. Paige had already drafted a post about how proud she was to stand beside her brilliant sister, which was interesting because she had not stood beside me anywhere. Austin sent a voice message. I did not play it at first. I watched the waveform sit there like a dare. When I finally listened, his voice was tense, angry, and scared. He said people were taking things out of context. He said clients had seen the clip. He said someone from his office had asked if the woman on TV was really the sister he had been mocking. Then his voice sharpened. You need to fix this, Mara. You know how the internet is. That was when my sympathy ended. Not because I wanted him destroyed, but because even then, with the evidence in front of him and the consequences arriving at his door, he was still asking me to protect him from the truth, instead of asking how it felt to be humiliated by my own brother. I made coffee, sat at my kitchen table, and wrote one message in the family chat. I did not insult them. I did not exaggerate. I did not perform pain for dramatic effect. I kept every sentence calm enough that no one could pretend I was hysterical. I wrote that I appreciated the congratulations, but I would not participate in any interview, post, article, or public statement framing my award as a family achievement. I wrote that my work belonged to my team, to the doctors and patients who trusted us, and to the communities the system served. I wrote that they did not have permission to use my name, photo, award, or story to repair their reputations or promote their businesses. I asked them not to contact my coworkers, my company, the foundation, or any hospital connected to the project. Then I added the line I knew would hurt because it was impossible to twist. If anyone asks why you were not at the ceremony, tell them the truth. You were invited. You laughed at the invitation. Austin threw it at me, and you chose the hockey game. The typing bubbles appeared before I even set the phone down. My mother replied first. She said I was being cruel. She said families should not keep score. She said I was turning one uncomfortable moment into a public punishment. My father followed with the same cold authority he used when he wanted a conversation to end in his favor. He told me I was forgetting who raised me. He said I was embarrassing the Whitlock name. He said success should make a person gracious, not vindictive. Paige tried a softer route. She said she understood I was upset, but a positive family post could make everyone look better and inspire people. Austin did not bother pretending. He wrote, "You are selfish. You are loving this. You finally get attention and now you want to make the rest of us look like villains." I stared at that message and felt something old finally break cleanly instead of bending again. I typed back only to him. Austin, if telling the truth makes you look like a villain, the problem is not my truth. The problem is your behavior. He called me immediately. I declined. He called again. I declined again. Then I blocked him on every platform where he had access to me. I muted the family chat for a year. I emailed our communications director and made it clear that no family member was authorized to speak on behalf of me, my team, or the project. I forwarded the message to Dr. Kwan, not because I needed permission, but because I trusted her to know where the professional boundaries should be. She replied 5 minutes later. "We will keep the story focused on the work. Proud of you." That was it. No lecture. No demand for forgiveness. No attempt to make me smaller so other people could feel comfortable. For the rest of the day, my phone still lit up, but my apartment stayed quiet. That quiet felt unfamiliar, almost suspicious, like peace had entered the room, and I did not yet know whether I was allowed to keep it. By sunset, I understood that the real revenge was not yelling at them, exposing them, or begging the world to choose my side. The real revenge was removing the one thing they had always taken for granted: my availability. They had thrown away my invitation when it belonged only to me. Now that the world wanted a piece of my story, they were discovering I could throw away their access just as easily. Austin had built his entire adult identity on being likable. He sold expensive homes in Seattle by telling people he understood trust, family, roots, and community. His website showed him laughing with clients on front porches, shaking hands with young couples, standing beside my parents at a neighborhood charity event. His slogan was, "I help families find where they belong." That sentence did not age well after half the city watched him throw his sister's invitation in her face. At first, he tried to treat the attention like a misunderstanding. He deleted the story, then posted a black screen with white text saying, "People should not judge family dynamics from a short clip." That might have worked if he had not added, "My sister and I joke like this all the time." People found that sentence insulting enough to keep digging. Someone who had been at the arena uploaded a video of Austin sitting under my face on the giant screen, completely frozen while the people around him asked why he was not at the ceremony. Another person posted the original broadcast. A local account stitched everything together and captioned it, "He mocked the award before realizing the whole arena would see her win it." By Monday morning, Austin's office had received emails. By Monday afternoon, a client who was preparing to list a waterfront property quietly requested another agent. By Tuesday, his brokerage removed him from a community campaign about integrity in real estate. He called it cancel culture in the family chat, forgetting I had muted it. Paige sent me screenshots anyway through email, as if proof of his suffering might soften me. It did not. The consequences were not random. They were connected directly to the image he had spent years selling. People did not stop trusting Austin because he had a private argument. They stopped trusting him because he publicly ridiculed someone else's meaningful work, then lied about it when the attention turned against him. My father was furious, but not in a way that suggested reflection. He called the situation unfair. He said people were too sensitive. He said Austin had made one mistake and did not deserve to lose business over it. I wondered how many mistakes I had swallowed quietly over the years, so Austin would never have to learn what accountability tasted like. My mother suffered in a different way. She had spent years presenting our family as close, supportive, and admirable. She was the kind of woman who wrote long birthday posts calling her children her greatest blessings, then forgot to ask basic questions about the lives those children were actually living. After the clip spread, neighbors asked careful questions that were worse than direct criticism. Was Mara upset you missed the ceremony? Did you really have tickets already? Did Austin actually throw the invitation? At her church luncheon, someone congratulated her on raising such an accomplished daughter, then added, "It must have been heartbreaking not to be there." My mother smiled through it, but according to a cousin, she left early and cried in the parking lot. Paige's perfect family performance collapsed even faster. She posted a photo of us as kids with a caption about always knowing her little sister would change the world. Within an hour, 3 people commented asking why she had been at the hockey game instead of the award ceremony. One person wrote, "You always believed in her, but not enough to show up?" Paige deleted the post, then sent me a message saying the internet was being disgusting and I should speak up. I did not answer. She had not wanted my voice when I invited her. She only wanted it when silence cost her something. Austin lasted 4 days before he sent a real apology. Not a public one. Not a polished one. A private text from a new number because I had blocked the old one. It was long, messy, and for the first time, missing the usual performance. He wrote that he had been jealous. He wrote that he hated how easy it was for me to be respected for something real, while he had to keep selling people a version of himself he was not sure he could maintain. He wrote that when my face appeared on the arena screen, he felt the whole section turn toward him, and all he could think was that he had made himself small by trying to make me smaller. He said he was sorry for throwing the invitation, sorry for laughing, sorry for asking me to fix it before asking if I was hurt. I read the message twice, then I set the phone down. There was a time when those words would have pulled me straight back into the role of family repairwoman. I would have comforted him, told him he was not a bad person, helped him craft a better apology, maybe even posted something kind so people would leave him alone. But that version of me had been trained by years of being useful, not loved. I did not hate Austin. I did not wish him permanent ruin. I hoped the humiliation taught him something his comfort never had. But I also understood that an apology does not become a key just because someone finally finds it under pressure. He had opened a wound in public. He did not get to decide when I was healed in private. So I did nothing. No reply, no reassurance, no rescue. And for once, the silence in our family did not belong to me because I had been ignored. It belonged to them because I had finally stopped answering. The months after the award did not become the dramatic victory parade people might imagine. Life did not suddenly turn perfect because strangers clapped or because my family finally understood they had underestimated me. Success is powerful, but it is not magic. It does not erase years of being overlooked. It does not turn selfish people into safe people overnight. What it did give me was visibility, and I chose carefully what to do with it. Our medical drone network received new funding, and Dr. Kwan used the attention to expand partnerships with rural clinics, tribal health centers, and emergency response teams that had been asking for better options for years. I spent less time answering questions about the award and more time helping build the next version of the system. We improved cold storage tracking, added safer landing protocols, and trained new engineers to think about patients as people, not statistics moving across a dashboard. That mattered to me more than any headline. I also started mentoring students, especially young women and quiet kids who reminded me of the person I used to be, the one fixing everyone else's problems while wondering if her own dreams were too inconvenient to mention. When I spoke to them, I did not tell them to chase applause. I told them to chase usefulness with dignity. I told them that valuable work is still valuable when no one at home understands it. I told them that education is not just about degrees, awards, or technical knowledge. Real education teaches you how to solve problems, how to serve people, how to recognize your own worth, and how to respect the worth of others before the world forces you to. That became the part of my story I cared about sharing, not the insult, not the viral clip, not Austin's fall from his self-made pedestal, the lesson. Because the truth is, many people know what it feels like to be treated like background noise in their own family. They know what it feels like to bring home something meaningful and watch someone reduce it to nothing because they are too insecure, distracted, or selfish to care. And many of those people spend years trying to become impressive enough to earn basic respect. I wish someone had told me earlier that respect given only after public recognition is not the same as love. My family still tried to reach me. My mother sent messages through relatives saying she missed me. My father asked if enough time had passed for everyone to move forward. Paige occasionally posted vague quotes about forgiveness and healing, always with lighting good enough to suggest she had chosen the quote for engagement. Austin did not contact me often after that apology, but when he did, his messages were shorter and less defensive. Maybe he was changing. Maybe he was just learning that pressure did not work anymore. Either way, I kept my distance. I did not attend the dinner my mother tried to organize in my honor. I did not let my father introduce me to business contacts as his brilliant daughter. I did not allow Paige to tag me in family memories that skipped the truth. And I did not let Austin use my forgiveness as a public relations strategy. People sometimes think boundaries are walls built from anger. Mine were not. Mine were doors with locks, and I finally understood that not everyone deserved a key. I built a life with people who showed up before the spotlight, friends who asked about my work when there were no cameras, colleagues who knew the late nights behind the award, students who listened because they wanted to learn, not because my name was trending. That kind of respect felt quieter than fame, but stronger. It did not need to be announced. It lived in consistency. If there is a core lesson in what happened to me, it is this. Do not let people define your value by the convenience of recognizing it. Do not shrink your achievements to keep insecure people comfortable, and do not confuse keeping fake peace with being a good person. Sometimes protecting your dignity is the most honest, healthy, and educational choice you can make, because it teaches others that love without respect is not enough. I still have the invitation Austin threw at me. The corner is bent, and I never fixed it. I keep it in the same drawer as the award program, not because I want to remember the humiliation, but because I want to remember the turning point. That card taught me who could throw my dream away without blinking. That night taught me I could pick it back up without them. The people who only show up after the spotlight are not the reason you shine. They are only proof that you were glowing long before they looked. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had to choose between keeping fake peace and protecting your self-respect? If you were in my place, would you forgive them, confront them, or walk away and build a better life without waiting for their applause?
My team and I are always working to build stories that bring viewers emotion, tension, and a meaningful message. This story is completely fictional and created only for storytelling, education, and entertainment. We hope it reminds viewers that people who truly value you will never make you feel small for having boundaries.